Meanwhile, in the murder shed,
Yeah,
I was right.
they abandoned their moon missions in the 70s.
You want a
Maybe they
dollar?
didn't need it, but
You got a
there's
dollar?
cigarette.
Here we are with another episode of Deep in the Amazon, where we trudge through Amazon's recommended list to try to find something we've never seen before.
We're probably going to watch a bad movie. But either way, we're going to tell you what we thought and whether you should watch it.
This is going to go great.
It always does.
Do you want to start with a genre? Or do you want to see what The Relic gives us?
Let's go with The Relic. That was my first choice anyway.
Okay. All right. So,
For tonight's kid, I have not heard of Harbinger Down.
Harbinger Down.
Yeah, I haven't heard of Harbinger Down either.
Okay, it's the first thing. Okay, so we started with The Relic, and we found in our recommendeds Harbinger Down. So I'm going to go over to it. We're all going to look away. We don't want to see the rating. We don't want to see the description. We hope the movie's good, so we don't want to get biased. And here we go.
I'm always ready to throw down.
Like a Russian accent book I bought. Right on the ground.
Oh, what show with moose and squirrel? It's enough.
All right, so...
Hey, nice.
Yeah, that was really good.
I got my bucket of dry ice. I'm ready.
Yeah, I just love the concept of them carrying around buckets of liquid nitrogen.
Yeah.
That's not going to backfire in any way whatsoever.
We're gonna need a bigger bucket.
2 hours later.
Well, that was a movie.
It certainly was.
I mean, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way.
No,
that
not
was
at
a
all.
movie.
That was a movie.
Um,
It's the most movie we've seen with Lance Henriksen in it in the last month.
That's true. Okay, so for a movie like this, do we need to say, like, at the top, like, hey, spoilers, because we actually think that it might be worth watching?
I think so. So spoilers, you might want to go check this one out.
Okay, well, there's three of us, so Rochambeau.
Yep.
1, 2, 3, go. Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, go.
I just lost. Wait, don't say anything. Maybe they won't notice.
Well,
We didn't.
Andy's up. Okay, Andy.
So a summary of Harbinger Down.
If I had won the Rochambeau, my description of the plot of this movie was going to be that this was a better movie than The Thing. From 2011.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
The movie opens on a balmy June afternoon in 1982 in the Arctic with a sort of heavy metal moment where there's a cosmonaut hurtling toward Earth screaming. The moonlander that he's in is catching fire. It's fantastic. He Captain America is right into the ice cap. Oh, his Charleston shoe is melting. We cut to the worst. We thought it was going to be found footage. It was, oh no.
Is this a found footage movie?
That's how bad the quality was.
We were really worried at first because it starts
Super worried.
The cosmonaut falls to Earth, and then it cuts to a significant portion of found footage.
Yes.
I really hope it's just this first.
If it's the whole movie. We jump ahead to a crab fishing boat in the Bering Strait named Harbinger, which is, who the fuck does that?
It's a terrible name for a boat, is
terrible
what it
name
is.
for
It's
a
a
boat.
terrible name for a boat.
Yeah, it's just called Pressing Your Luck, the boat. And Lance Henriksen's the captain. Oh no! It's Lance Henriksen again!
2 in a row!
We meet the crew, and apparently it's bring your friend to crab fishing day on this boat because 2 separate parties show up and bring friends along.
I think it's just one because you have the whole boat crew,
Right.
and then you have the 3 scientists, and it's 2 people that are getting their degrees and their professor.
The ship's doctor, perfect.
They call me Doc because I used to live under one.
Nickname.
Right.
Great, like one of the 7 dwarfs.
Yeah, and they call him Grumpy.
They established that that one of the deckhands are sort of cut-ups who are quick to sort of make fun of the non actual crew.
Why would this be in my locker?
I wouldn't know. What would a goldfish have to do with you?
You got a problem with me, you handle it like a man.
What the
Now,
fuck
Svet,
just happened?
calm down.
So her name is Svetlana. I'm guessing short for Svetlana, but maybe not. Maybe it's just Svet.
If anybody's going to be delivering an ass
Is that supposed to be Russian?
me. You pull a knife on my ship, and I'll gut you with it.
Lance Henriksen, who was the grandfather of one of the
Pop-Pop.
students, didn't tell the crew that they were showing up. So there was some, I don't want to call it false or unearned tension there, but there was something there in an attempt to keep it interesting when they were establishing the characters.
Right.
They were on the boat to study the migratory patterns of whales because of global warming.
Yes, which the professor obviously was like really into. He is an egotistical sort of self-centered asshole. Asshole is like the major asshole.
Hello.
So they go out on this crab ship. They crab at night. Crabbing happens at night. They make a very good point of that.
Crabbing happens at night, and their work is supposed to happen in the day, it doesn't.
It doesn't. It happens simultaneously with the crabbing. This is literally just B-roll from Deadliest Catch. She throws a GoPro on a selfie stick, shoves it underwater, and we see some terrible CGI beluga. Not CGI, composited. They were composited into this shot.
And they were not composited well because they looked like they were about 13 inches across.
Yeah.
Which was maybe some tardigrade foreshadowing.
It's a tardigrade.
Also known as a water bear.
So underneath you see kind of the ice shelf from underneath, and there's a red blinking light, which I actually really appreciated that moment. And you know what it is because you saw the spaceship crash at the beginning. They pull it in without any explanation as to how they got it out, which again I think is the right choice. That was also good storytelling. It just comes in in a net, all nicely cut out of wherever it was.
They get it on the ship, and then immediately they kind of start squabbling about what they're going to do with it.
Yes, they do start squabbling about what they're going to do with it.
Which is where like the tension of things going wrong is. Like if they were all working together, it might not have gotten out of hand, but they gave them enough mini conflict there to let them make mistakes.
So they move it down to the hold, and immediately Lance Henriksen knows it's from the 80s because it's got a CCCP marking. Then there's a huge conversation about salvage rights where the professor gets into it with Sadie and with Pop Pop about who owns this chunk of ice with a dead cosmonaut in it.
It's property of the university.
Bullshit. How do you figure?
Found by a university representative. So...
I mean, it's not perfect, but it's the beats that you would want there. They discuss found salvage, and they discuss whose rights get what, and the teacher is just angling to get the credit and everything in terms of resources and assets that might come from this.
Right.
So he's being an asshole about it, and it immediately gets everybody's back up.
So Sadie, against all probably international law and probably some laws of God, goes down, cracks open the cosmonaut's suit, and starts taking samples. Which is like they cut a square out of his chest, and the practical effects are really good.
Yeah.
They're like very solid. It looks like skin coming out of someone's chest, and they go back and they analyze it, and they determine that it's tardigrades.
It's a tardigrade.
Also known as a water bear.
The doctor overhears them talking. The doctor goes down. The doctor gets goo on his hand. Professor, whatever, gets goo on his hand. We all know where that's going. Then basically exactly what you expect to happen happens. The guy who we haven't talked about yet, who lives in the engine room, like Scruffy the janitor, and he's just like sitting in the engine room of the ship on a cot, sleeping pretty much.
Except for when he's turning a button or...
Yeah, he gets up, he pushes a button, he goes back to bed, sleeps right next to the drive shaft of the ship. He gets taken by a white blob with veins in it, which I really liked that one, and we never saw it again, but I really liked it. It was just gelatinous goo with black veins running through it. That was pretty neat. Then the professor starts getting like weird and angry and runs outside and starts turning red. They didn't overdo it, which is shocking in a movie like at this level. I went in his mouth! Yay! The Inuit guy gets killed. Kind of unceremoniously. He's with Pop Pop down in the bowels of the ship. They wanted to show the liquid nitrogen sort of backfiring.
Yeah.
Because it spills on his arm and his arm just breaks off and it looks great.
Yes. I also like how Svet dealt with Doc. When the professor's back erupts in coral semen, it gets in Doc's mouth.
Like directly,
Yeah.
it is Bukake style.
And Svet notices.
Yeah.
And so they actually did a nice job. Several times in this movie, they did things that I thought were good with economic storytelling.
Yes.
And one of them is they never showed the build-up between her and Doc. They just sort of cut to her having locked him in a fucking crab cage.
Yep. Yeah. And that's when
and having poured gasoline on him.
Yeah.
Help, guys! I don't know what to do! I tried to stop her!
What the hell are you doing, son?
He's infected!
Oh, I'm not. Goddammit, she hates me.
What makes you sure he's infected? He's sweating.
Of course I was sweating.
He's infected! He's reached to all of us!
Whoa.
And then, because the movie, I think at this point probably wants you to know that they're not trying to do the thing, there isn't any guesswork about whether or not he's infected.
No.
He becomes infected while he's in the cage.
Yep.
She's being practical and forward-thinking and manages to light him on fire before he can become a danger to anybody else.
Yep.
Almost immediately, everyone's like, oh, she's right. And he just hands the knife back to her.
Yep.
He's like, I'm sorry, I doubted you. You obviously know what you're doing. Here's the knife that we took from you. Like,
Right. And so
we're not
up
judging
until-
you for doing that.
Yeah, and up until this point, I like the character of Svet because everyone else is kind of sitting on their hands, and she's like,
Yep.
I will kill a motherfucker if I need to.
Yep.
Did it have to be fire?
No.
Because you're about to get to the point in the plot where all of a sudden she isn't Russian, she's a Russian spy. She calls herself a contractor or a consultant.
Freelancer
Now
or
we're called
consultant.
Consultant.
Now we're called consultants.
So all of a sudden she goes from a Russian to a Russian spy.
Right.
And she knows about the thing that was under the ice, and so a bunch of Russian spies have been on a bunch of trawlers,
Yes,
hoping
looking
that
for
they
it.
run across it, and this one just happens to be the one that it does. So the thing that I like about it and that I don't like about it, I don't like the plot point of her being a Russian spy.
No.
I think it disservices the film.
I agree.
I do like if you're going to have it in there, that there were story threads on the character she was playing that just get dropped once she's a Russian spy.
Yep.
So she had things and motivations and character stuff,
Nope.
and then she's a Russian spy, and none of that stuff gets brought up again
Yeah,
because
she
all of
netted
it,
right out of there.
either all of it was bullshit or it is functionally bullshit now. Like, she could have actually liked Big G, actually.
Yeah.
But then now that this is happening, there's no choice. Motherland, she has to
follow her directives. She's
Yeah.
been activated, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Now she has to do her job.
In 30 minutes, the submarine that's been tracking us will surface and pick me up. 30 minutes after that, the explosives I plan to detonate.
Because of the plot, it was the best kind of moment you could have had if you had to have that motivation of her being the Russian spy eventually.
And again, I'll give the movie credit because this giant man and this small Russian woman suddenly punching each other was not what I expected.
Yeah.
Well, and it just cuts. Doesn't it just cut?
It's like a hard cut to him getting punched.
Hard cut
yeah.
to him getting punched.
Yeah, I'm not going to fight a woman, and then she kicks him in the
Kicks him in the
face.
face.
I love you, Sorsha. I don't love her. She kicked me in the face.
I really liked that moment.
Yes, and I wish there had been more of it.
Me too.
I wish
Me
there had
too.
been more things like that.
Me too.
Now, if the rest of you are done with this goddamn tomfuckery,
Because the next thing that really happens in the plot is everyone's kind of in the same room and the attack on Svetlana happens because she's revealed herself to be a Russian agent. And I liked that scene because the Russian was hardcore villain monologuing. And here comes the thing, and everyone else in the room fucking sees the monster. And in every other scene, they're against the monster. But in that one scene, everybody's like, we're just gonna watch this happen.
Let's see how this plays out.
And so then it smacks it out of her hand. And then you get my favorite scene in the movie, which is just the second research assistant going, "This is a gun!"
Take it!
Then you have some legitimately bad and confusing editing.
Yes, very bad editing.
Because the thing attacks the Russian.
Yeah, and then it
and
looks
then
like
you see the research assistant get pulled through the pipe.
Yes.
But if we had gone back and watched it 4 times, I don't think the only reason I could tell it was the second research assistant that got pulled through the pipe is because she wasn't in the movie after that.
What if we just rush you?
I'm the only one rushing around here.
So then the Russian spy makes a break for it. Big G goes after her, grabs her. There's another weird tension moment. Then the Russian looks to the left, and there's a torso that grows alien out of it, or not alien, sorry.
Like it starts just as a walking torso.
It starts as a walking torso, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And then the thing kind of starts growing out of it, and then she's just gone.
It just like sprints.
It just sprints and takes her.
Yeah.
She's immune to infection. That's an important.
Oh, right.
That's another
the
important
inoculation versus antidote.
Yeah, which I loved that line.
I did too.
Playing now.
This is a very rare drug. And there's a difference between inoculation and antidote.
Inoculation is not an antidote, and I really like that.
Yeah.
So now the Scooby Gang decides to go find all the bombs. Ruh-roh.
You can't get in the bilge.
A man can't, but Svet could.
It's toxic down there. Be careful.
A man
can't.
A man can't, but Svet could? What'd she say?
Yeah, she said that women can get in the bilge. The Russian's name was Svet. So Svet went down there.
She was saying that
Svet
Svet could have gotten down
there.
there, so there could be a bomb down there.
Because if you have testicles, it just kicks you right back out.
Jesus Christ, that was super ambiguous.
They frame it as if no human can get down there, and then she's like, well, no man can get down there.
I am no man.
Exactly.
But they messed it up.
They messed it up.
Because after saying it a couple of times, one of the men says you can't go down there, and instead of saying a man can't go down there, she references a dead character that could go down there, and it got confused.
Yeah.
So you didn't get your badass moment, and not that it was that overt, and not that it was actually a feminist statement. I don't mean to imply that, but just the moment there of we thought something was impossible and a woman figured it out. They stepped on it really hard.
They stepped on it hard. It would have been way better if they would have just said, well, a man can't, and then she slid right down. So she goes down to the water, and it's the fucking slime from Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah, basically.
It's pink and bubbling, but it's just water. Like maybe they put a little bit of thickener in there, like some glycerin or something. But it looked neat. It just really looked like the slime from Ghostbusters 2. And it's supposed to be tardigrades.
A water bear.
It's supposed to be the thing, just kind of dispersed in water. So she tries to walk through it kind of fell apart a little bit in terms of what they were trying to say, but she had to be careful. So she goes down and she has a crowbar and she pops all these magnetic, why not, bombs off of the side of the ship, drops one, has a moment where she has to get it with the crowbar, MacGyver style. Then this thing moves through the water, and so she has to get out, and that's really...
She's walking through all the water, and that doesn't disturb the creature.
But then
she drops something into the water, and that doesn't disturb the creature. She's been half submerged in the water the entire time, but it's putting the crowbar in to get the final mine out that bothers the creature. And I didn't really love that.
I didn't love it either, but I thought the scene was well shot and well done.
Well, it's because there was an aspect of the infection part of that horror story that they never really turned into. It wasn't about the thing. It wasn't an alien monster that they were fighting. The entire point was, don't get infected by this. And they never really... That was a part of it, but it was never the horror part. Like that whole scene of her being in the water, in the high waders and the rubber gloves, they never really got into the horror of, if you touch this, you will die.
Like she wasn't worried that it was spilling over into her overalls.
It wasn't about her splashing and
remember
all of that.
You bring up a great point, because when she gets out, they make a point of, in the shot, showing her kind of getting pulled out of the waders. Mm-hmm. But there's no explanation for it, because I think you're right. I think they're missing another scene.
There was a lot of horror in that scene that they didn't really even go for.
Or capitalize on. Yeah. Then they put all the bombs on the the big cryo tank.
The big nitrogen
and then
tank.
They get attacked and run out of the hole.
That's right.
Yeah. And somewhere in that confusion, maybe when the door got shut on the arm, it splattered in Lance Henriksen's face.
I think they were missing a sound effect, but yes, I think that's exactly what it was, because Big G was like pushing. I thought Big G was the one that was going to get
So
infected.
I wanted to talk about that too. This is another thing where the movie gets a little bit confused about the infection part that you were talking about, because at one point Big G actually touches the arm and yells like he got hurt, like he got punctured by the spikes on the fin, or he was just yelling that he realized he was touching it. Moment where he decided to sacrifice himself to shove the thing through and shut the door, but they never touch on that.
No.
And he dies of natural causes. And he dies of being killed by
well, I mean, he got punctured by a giant thing. Naturally, he's going to die.
Yeah. So, but there was no worry about him being infected.
No.
But even though he had just touched the thing and he was actually closer to the thing, Lance Henriksen got it on his face, and now he's infected.
Lance Henriksen's like, oh fuck, I'm infected. Big G, go down and straighten out the drive shaft. The next thing I care about is the Russian lady getting taken over by the thing, because while she is immune to the infection, it can still take her over,
like consumes her
and becomes her.
Yeah,
and she's got like black eyes and sclera lenses and everything, and it's this really cool moment.
It was a neat moment. She had an inoculation. The thing ate her, or whatever it was that it did, and so no one else had faces survive becoming part of the thing or whatever, but she did, and then suddenly she's the Demogorgon mixed with a Russian spy, which I've just never said that sentence before and appreciate having spoken.
Big G goes down, straightens out the crankshaft, actually straightens it out.
Gets
then
the ship running again.
Gets a little fight with the alien. And dies. Just basically like red on the shirt. Literally just a blood splat on the shirt. One of the things we've lost in this is the timer that was with the Russian spy, which was set for 1 hour.
But from that point on in the movie, about the midpoint, there's a ticking clock.
There's a literal ticking clock. And at 0, the bombs are going to blow up. And supposedly at 30, the Russian sub is going to show up. But it doesn't. And then suddenly at like 12 minutes, we've got 12 minutes left, they get a radio from the Russian sub.
Speaking in Russian,
and Sadie's like, fuck you, and it just hangs up.
So they leave.
That's it. That is the end of the interaction with the Russians.
This Russian plot was very non-committal.
Your bitch is dead, asshole. And we're still alive. We're alive. So fuck you and your little experiment.
It'd be awesome if they just blew up the boat right now.
Yeah.
Maybe the secret code for abort the mission was your bitch is dead, fuck you, and it's a total coincidence.
Okay.
Get the fuck out of here. Something's gone wrong. Anyway, the submarine never shows up.
The submarine,
you get the hint that the submarine is actually there in the story and not just forgotten because the Russians talked to him for a minute.
It's late.
Sadie tells him to go.
Typical Russians.
Well, and you could see that they were gonna get a signal from Svet at 30 minutes,
but
and then gave him 15 minutes, and then was like, hey, we need to actually break radio silence and check in.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, there's a little bit in here where Sadie and Pop Pop are talking, and Pop Pop's like, yeah, your grandma's dead, by the way. Sorry, I forgot to tell you.
Oh God, can we talk about that for a minute?
Yeah, because that was stupid.
Masterclass in unnecessary emotional motivation. It contributes nothing to the story, nothing to the plot, but right in the middle of the movie, randomly, Sadie's talking about how grandma will be sad because she's already lost her son, Sadie's father, and now is going to lose her husband and her granddaughter. And without really missing a beat, Lance Henriksen is like, sorry that I didn't tell you, but she's actually fucking dead.
3 months,
she died real fast.
Cancer.
I didn't tell anybody. I told you to come to my boat, and I wasn't going to tell you. I don't know what I was thinking.
Oh my God.
But you don't have to worry about that because we can die with no one missing us.
Wow, that's fucked up. Well, and it also has that emotional moment because he's like, oh, I have to spread her or I've never spread her ashes. I keep meaning to, but I don't because I just can't bring myself to it. So he gets infected and he's like, oh, fuck it, I'll spread her ashes.
Yeah.
So he goes to the he's spreading her ashes around a creature that has been known to assimilate people, by the way.
I hope he dumps her ashes right on the monster and it becomes the grandma.
Yeah, that would be amazing. But they don't do anything with that.
We were so disappointed that grandma wasn't the final form antagonist.
That would have been so great. So he dumps her ashes overboard in the most awkward ash dumping scene since The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
Is it empty? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
it's empty. Let's go.
There's a moment there where he threw the burger away and then stared at the wrapper.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
and
And he just throws it. Oh. No toy prize.
Throws the lid. He then awkwardly dumps the ashes, checks to make sure there are no more ashes, and then just sort of lets it fall. And I think what they were going for there probably was that he was tired and he could feel this happening, and so he wasn't. But it actually just looked like a moment from Lance Henriksen in A Reckoning, where he just stopped giving a shit about living.
It really did.
Quiet down. Quiet down. Quiet. Quiet.
So
Quiet down. Quiet down. Quiet.
then Lance Henriksen's like, okay, I need you to ice me now. Like, do it now, Beardy McBearderson. And Beardy McBearderson starts to do it, and then a fucking thing pops out of his chest and yanks him back. And it's just great. Expected, but awesome.
I was a little disappointed by one thing, and I liked it, and I liked that he died right then, and I liked that it was a reversal of, okay, I'm gonna kill you even though it breaks my heart, and then he died. But I thought for a second that it wasn't a tentacle coming from around the corner, that he had just been infected the whole time.
Which I would have liked more.
I would have liked that a little better.
What I thought in the very beginning of that
That's what I thought, and then you see that that's not it.
But instead, being reverse yeeted away was pretty funny.
It was funny, but it wasn't.
No, reverse yeeted and around a corner, because
Yeah.
it was like straight back and
totally.
then like sliding against the wall as it pulls in the other direction.
Okay, that was
around the
pretty good.
corner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I like is going on is Lance Henriksen is infected,
Yes.
and there's no nonsense about his infection. He says to the bearded second in command, keep the
nitrogen on
keep
me.
the nitrogen on me, and let's try to get this ship going again.
Yep.
We gotta get this ship out of here. Mr. Guillaume.
Yes, sir.
See if you can get that drive shaft straight.
Yes, sir, Captain.
Mr. Bowman, keep that nitrogen pointed at me.
I liked that moment.
Yeah, I did too. So right in the wheelhouse, Lance Henriksen is fading. You know, keep the nitrogen on me and all
He
that
gets so weak that he was gonna captain the ship, and then he asks Sadie to.
So in this time, additionally, what has happened is the bombs that are attached to the nitrogen have gone off in the least satisfying explosion ever.
It was a very dissatisfying explosion and also accomplished nothing.
It accomplished
seemed like they
nothing.
put those on there to kill the creature somehow.
Yeah.
Didn't do anything.
Didn't do anything. It blew a little hole out of the ship.
It didn't even do much damage to the ship. Like, you could have sailed that thing home.
Yeah, the weakest moment in this entire movie, I think, was the ending. She crashes the boat into the iceberg, fine. Then she gets on the radio and says she's still alive. They tell her the helicopter's coming for her. She lays back onto the ice and cut.
Yeah.
No, and you hear the sound of the helicopter like
You hear it,
approaching.
yeah.
She doesn't even warn them to the fact that there's a crazy experiment that's gone wrong and will destroy the world if it gets back to the harbor. She doesn't say anything about that. She's just going to get rescued by the helicopter. And I bet you if the filmmakers were here, they would defend this moment by saying, no, I don't even think that. I honestly think they would just say this. The helicopter is going to go rescue her because that's all a helicopter can do, and then she'll warn them. I think that they, and you can do this. We've done this. I've done this in writing. Sometimes you can lose what a narrative accomplishes for what would happen in the real world. Because if that was the defense, that's not wrong. A helicopter can't take the boat back.
Right.
So they would rescue her, and she would say, you have to nuke this site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure, and it would be resolved. And so the filmmakers probably thought, we don't need to include this. But if you're only paying attention to the narrative, she basically just dooms humanity.
Yeah.
By not revealing this information.
All souls lost. Except one.
Maybe we should stop here and talk about this and The Thing for a minute, because I think it's probably just worth describing the two and comparing for a second. Harbinger Down is a better movie than The Thing from 2011.
Flashback humor.
The reason why I think it was better than the 2011 The Thing is because the 2011 The Thing was the exact same plot as the 1982 The Thing, but with CGI. And I know that it led up to what happened in the original John Carpenter's The Thing. But if you watch the 2011 Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing is awful because that movie only works not knowing what just happened. So the only thing in 2011's The Thing that they did is they retold The Thing, badly and made the exact same story the prequel to the story that it was inspired from, and then made a bunch of bad CGI. The practical effects in this movie, Harbinger Down, was better than the things from 2011's, like CGI and monsters and stuff.
Yep.
So that's worth mentioning. But the other thing that I wanted to say about this movie in terms of the thing is, yeah, it's a very similar setup. They find something in the ice, and that makes things go terrible and everybody dies. But I like that it didn't have the paranoia aspect to it. You couldn't have the monster of this appearing as a regular person or a dog. And so the paranoia aspect just wasn't part of this movie.
Yeah.
And if they had done that, it would have been terrible because they would have just been aping the thing.
Yeah.
And so instead, they threw in a Cold War Russian spy plot, which I was not the biggest fan of. But at least it was different. At least it was trying something. I have to give it credit for kind of doing something weird and unexpected. Like a Russian submarine was not what I was thinking that the plot was going to have in it.
No.
And technically, this movie didn't actually have a Russian submarine in it. They just talked about it.
Yes,
Thank you.
Very good point. Yeah, I don't have much to say about the sound other than that I thought it was pretty good.
Stock door opening sound.
Except for the door.
I honestly didn't notice the door until you said something, and then I noticed every single one after that. But the music was it wasn't ever something I noticed, which means it wasn't horribly egregious.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good spice in the mix. And the only reason I brought up the door is because that sound effect, because I brought it up the very first time I heard it. Not that we'd heard it like 5 times at that point, but the very first time I heard it, I was like, "Oh, look, it's
that sound effect," because we just recognize it. It's like the Wilhelm scream.
Yeah.
It's like we're going to immediately catch that exists.
Fucking sound. Apart from that weird one sound effect, nothing else really stood out as being bizarre or purchased or from a pack. I'm sure they did some of their own Foley on that.
They had to have for the special effects. I mean, because let's talk about that now.
Yes. Go Creature Crew.
Give it up for the
Congratulations.
Creature Crew. Seriously, yeah.
Fantastic.
100% of all of the practical alien effects in this movie, I was in love with.
Yes.
Outstanding.
Yeah, it was great.
Outstanding.
And when you compare it to maybe the original John Carpenter's The Thing, which in 1982 had a $15 million budget, which was pretty substantial. It was his biggest budget film. I have no idea why that movie wasn't more successful, other than just people weren't ready for it. But anyway, when you compare this movie to The Thing from 1982, you might be able to like point to some flaws in this.
Yeah.
But in some ways, some of it what they did was better.
Oh yeah,
and when you compare this movie to the CGI monster fests that are coming out right now, astonishing work. Like hats off all around.
Much more enjoyable to watch. Just like
it was
my
fun.
eyes ate this stuff up.
It was so clever. Some of it was stop motion.
Yeah.
Some of it was reverse time.
Well, like one of them was definitely they were using a heat gun to melt something because you could see the ripples of the heat gun, but it really worked.
In this particular context,
If you didn't know special effects, you would have just thought that's really fucking cool.
And weird.
Yeah. And weird, and I've never seen it before. Yeah. There were a few CGI bridges. I think about all the CGI was like a bridge to a practical effect, nearly all of it.
The only one that stands out in my mind that I think might have been pure CGI were shots of the legs. And then the close-up shots of the thing coming out of the legs, I think, was practical. Yep. But I think the legs standing there and the rush that killed Svet, I think, was also CGI. Yeah. I think that one was fine because
that was fine.
So fast.
It was so fast.
And then the like whatever tubes thing growing out of the guy's
that's
back in the beginning.
What he means is the ones that worked. What you're talking about is what my issue is.
Oh yeah, no, because that was there was like just the bridge, and it was like the initial part of the growth, and then they switched over to a practical effect where he was actually in the prosthetic with all the stuff coming out the back. But it was the initial part of that, and it was early on, and one of the first big reveals of the monster in this movie, and it made my heart sink a little bit because I thought it was going to be mostly
for a second.
And then they went hardcore into the practical effects, and I really love that.
You know, it's a fairly low-budget movie.
Yeah.
The practical effects were gorgeous.
Yep.
And they must have just not figured out a way to make those practical effects appear without some CGI.
We went for a while not us, but movies in general, stop doing practical effects because CG is
cheaper.
Easier and cheaper, and all of those reasons that as filmmakers, everyone started to go to CG. But in the last couple years, the practical effects, the puppetry, everything about all of that aspect of filmmaking has gotten so good that when people now go back and do those practical effects, it's almost better than they used to be able to do. Like the technology has still continued to advance even though nobody really uses it anymore.
Oh man, I mean,
and so every time someone pulls it back and does practical effects in a movie nowadays,
you have to appreciate it.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah. You're right. It has gotten better. If you look at the puppetry in the Dark Crystal show versus the movie, the puppetry in the Dark Crystal show, I mean, first of all, it's the best puppetry I've ever seen in the goddamn world. There are puppets doing puppets in that show, and you actually think that the puppets are real puppets, and the real people that are really puppets are real people doing the puppets.
Now, if the rest of you are done with this goddamn tomfuckery.
But the puppetry is amazing.
Oh,
and so there's been 30 years of practical special effect development since Carpenter's The Thing that was at play here. And so some of it looked amazing.
Amazing.
I don't know if I have much more to say about the special effects. I mean,
they were.
But I want to say more just because of how much I love them.
If nothing else, watch this movie for the special effects. Even if you don't care about it being spoiled or whatever, it's worth a watch to see the practical effects.
And it's fun.
It's
the practical
fun.
effects and the reactions to them and the way that the characters interact with the physical objects, it's fun.
It's fun.
It's a great schlocky horror movie for that.
So let's talk about the cinematography. Every shot in this movie, barring a couple of mistakes, was competent.
It's pretty good.
I don't think they were necessarily the right shots, but they were still very well composed.
I could have used some more mood, but I will say, in comparison to, say, like A Reckoning that we just watched last time, is that like lighting was very well motivated.
Very well
The shadow to light ratio, the f-stop stuff, I thought that was mostly really effective.
Yep. So overall, to me, the writing was...
Yeah, I mean, the writing was serviceable. They told a story.
It was an excuse to get to the special effects.
And it was as an excuse to get to the special effects, I didn't mind it at all. And I overall, I liked this movie. Because you kind of can't help but compare it to the movies that it's drawing from. I think the only criticism that I have, besides some dialogue, some dialogue options, like things that couldn't be saved by the actors. Because I will say for a moment, the only bad actor in this I thought was the professor. I thought everybody else was pretty good. But other than that, I thought that the performances were really strong all the way through. It was nice to see Lance Henriksen cast in the movie and then actually used as a person that was alive that could say words and do things.
He delivered too.
Yeah, he did.
He brought it.
I liked him. The writing, besides some minor criticism of some dialogue, I think this is the only thing that I would say about it. You took the most interesting part of the thing out and you replaced it with what? Like Russian spies. I would have liked to have seen a different perspective that it seems like they kind of started to get to somewhere in the development and then abandoned.
Yeah.
But the reason why we remember the thing is the paranoia, the not trusting each other. And I mean this in addition to the effects and the gore and the horror aspect of it. But that's why we love the thing. And this movie didn't have it. And it tried, to give it credit, it tried to do something to replace it, and that was the Russian kind of subplot part. But I don't think that really hangs together. I enjoyed watching the movie for the most part, but I would tune in and out sometimes and get kind of bored for a minute.
That's kind of savage.
Let's add some visual aids.
All right. So now's the part where we give the movie a star rating, just like Amazon viewers, which... we are. I'm giving it 3 stars, but the VFX are 5 stars. Like, it is legitimately a 5-star VFX movie, but I got to give the movie, it's a solid 3. Go watch it, but it's 3 stars.
I think I have to echo that. I think I'm going to give it a 3 rating overall, with a special shout out to the visual effects.
Special accommodations.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 4. I was on the fence. I had problems with the little parts of this movie, but I enjoyed it all the way through.
Yeah, me too.
Me too.
Like, there weren't ever parts that were completely horrendous or poorly done or any of that. I enjoyed the movie all the way through despite a few of its problems, and the fact that the special effects and the practical effects
were amazing. 7 stars.
Yeah. 5 out of 7 for sure.
5 out of 7 for sure.
5 out of 7.
But no, I'm going 4 stars.
I'd watch it again. I guess that's that says something. I'd watch it again.
That's true. That's a good point. Okay, well, if I've given it a 3, Andy's given it a 3, and Taylor's given it a 4, and because I've only done graphic effects for half-star ratings, I guess this is rated 3.5 stars.
3.5 stars. We did it. We found one.
We found one.
Ah, yes.
We actually
That's what
succeeded.
this show's about.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this show more because I would like to find, decent movies. There was a lot to compliment. There was a lot to talk about and not just make fun of.
Mm-hmm.
I was afraid that we'd get through a dozen movies before we found
even something
worth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess the final thought here is you might not love this movie, but you might kind of like it. It's not a masterpiece, but it's a great Sunday afternoon. You're stoned, kind of. I feel like watching a horror movie. Kind of flick, and
give it a go.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. So thanks for joining us on Deep in the Amazon.
I shouldn't salute. That's stupid. Take that out. Take that out.
Not quite live from the murder shed.
That's staying in.
Fuck yeah. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey. We're not sorry.
We're not sorry.
Yeah, we have to be careful about making fun of people for being derivative.
Don't watch the rest of our channel. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.